Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Anatomy of a Movie.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Popcorn Talk's Anatomy of a Movie. And today we're going to be talking about Netflix original, Dangerous Lies. I am not here alone. Don't worry, won't be talking to myself. I've got two of the best fellas that I could ask for with me. First, we've got Bryant Santos. He is the host of Quarantine with the Stars, Gay Twitter, lots of other things. Hi, Bryant.
Hello, I am so excited to be here with you and Flobo. It's so exciting. I'm so ready to talk about this movie. I was so excited when I saw the trailer, and the movie was amazing. I usually don't even watch murder mystery because I'm like scared. So I was so happy with this one. I watched it at midnight and I was still okay, but love it. Get ready to talk about it.
Amazing. And also, of course, we have Flobo Boyce with us. He is the host of Monday Night Raw's after show and Star Trek after shows. Hi, Flobo. Welcome. So
Thank you so much. I heard the call. You're looking for more Veronica fans, and I was like, oh, that's totally up my alley. Dangerous Lies. Let's do this.
Is that what the call was?
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, we're talking about Dangerous Lies. Just came out a few days ago, April 30th on Netflix. The movie was directed by Michael Scott, written by David Golden, and it stars Camila Mendes, Jesse T. Usher, Jamie Chung, and Cam Jandet. I think I said it right. I'm sorry if I didn't. So
you're braver than I am.
Basically, the movie is about a wealthy elderly man who dies. Camila Mendes' character was his caretaker, and he ended up giving her the house, and then she got swindled into a bunch of lies and deceit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically it. And then it spirals from that. Yeah. So let's just start. I want to hear everyone's overall thoughts. Flobo, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. When the old man passed away, Leonard passed away, and Kate got the house, I thought, all right, the end. But no, things were not going to be that easy. You know what? I actually enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it wasn't the most perfect film, and sort of some kind of twists and turns I had some issues with. We'll talk about soon. But to kill 2 hours with some friends, to throw back to the movies I watched growing up, I'm down.
Amazing. Bryant, what about you?
Yes, like I said, I don't usually watch this genre of film. I'm very scared. I'm surprised I still watch Riverdale, but that's obviously why I was so obsessed with this movie, because I am the biggest Riverdale fan out there. Camila Mendes is my queen. She was such a great star for this movie. Her acting was really great in this one. Some people do come for Riverdale sometimes, but they're amazing and I love them. And I can't wait to talk about this movie even more. There's so many fun topics, so many, like you said, about twists and turns. The entire cast was great. My overall thoughts was just that I was happy that I stayed to the end because I actually did not see that one coming.
Oh, there you go. I didn't see it coming either. I was interested in watching this film. I do sometimes watch a good murder mystery. This one, though, it was hard for me to stay attached to it because I was busy placing the blame on everybody and I was trying to figure out things. So I don't think I was getting every single thing that I should have been getting out of it. But let's just get started, shall we? Bryant, let's start with you. Camila Mendes is your queen.
She is. And that is why my topic is about her husband, Adam. Oh my God, he's a deadbeat. I'm so sorry. Let's just throw it out there into the world. Literally, he had so many different layers, but it was his overall arc was just that he was a deadbeat. Literally, when they were sitting in that corner and he's like, I'm so tired of being broken. I was like, then do something about it. Get a damn job. I was so done with him, and especially, because I love Camila Mendes so much and I love this character of Kate because they're so opposites. She was working her butt off, doing so many different jobs, caring for Leonard, and then having her husband who's kind of just there, I'm figuring it out. I'm like, figure it out faster. So I want to get you guys' take on just his character and how he was kind of dragging her along. Flobo, I'm coming to you because I see a jaw drop.
Yeah, man. Wow, Bryant Santos for president 2020. Get a job. Don't be a deadbeat.
Real.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. There are some things that Adam did was really questionable, like buying the Rolex and doing the whole, we don't have to do this, and his idea to go back and count the money later on. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. It made you go, yeah, Katie, why are you with this guy? But sometimes if you get on the ground floor, the whole point of love when you marry someone is that it's unconditional. Is it not?
True.
Interesting. I wrote, Adam is tripping and money hungry, and that's a bad combo and not the best person to have around in this scenario. I hated that he wasn't taking her opinion into account and was just accusing her of not agreeing all the time. She's the one that had to take care of this man. Then he passed. She feels like she's put in a terrible position. Who knows what any of us would have done, but it certainly wouldn't have been, let's start counting the money right now. I'm staring at the money. He passed 5 seconds ago. And so I feel exactly the way that you feel. I do think there's something weird about that diner saving scene where he stopped it from, was it a burglary? Yeah. There's something strange about him, how that all went down, how we didn't really explore more of that, and what his deal is, and what he actually went through after.
Definitely.
To put him, I think whatever that is what made him greedy and scared of, not ever getting a job again for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I felt like the opening scene happened and I was like, it didn't pay off for a while. And then later on, they got the fake call about that event, but it kind of was detached from everything. Like it didn't really influence anything. No one had any psychological issues. I was kind of waiting for something to pay off there, and it wasn't.
Yeah. So it was only discovered that they're in cahoots, right? The guy who tried to rob that diner was in cahoots with Hayden. Yeah. So, but it definitely took a while for us to understand why it was connected and why they even introduced it in the beginning like that. So
that's why I think Adam had some play in there other than just saving the day. There had to have been something, but maybe that's just how they did it. They really set up this entire movie, I thought anyway, for us to think that everybody had done it, which is a murder mystery story in general. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. But I was convinced. Every time I was re-convinced.
Adam dies. I don't know if he's on the level.
So, I wanted to talk about that too. Like, speaking of Adam, what were you guys thinking in that last moment where Kate thinks that it could be Adam? Like, thinks that Adam could be the mastermind behind this whole thing. Like, were you like right there with her? Did you believe that? Like, you did. Interesting. I did as well. I did think that he was, like you said, he was power hungry. He was like, will do anything to kind of get out of this rut he was in. So I did kind of think he did it. But then of course we got that little swerve. So
I think I was more surprised though that Kate didn't do it than I was that he didn't do it, because I thought there was something, but then that whole scene happened with Jamie Chung's character trying to convince her. And then I got it. But before then I was like, this girl did this whole thing. I bet we just hate Adam because they're trying to make us hate Adam, but this girl did the thing. Sorry, Flobo, what were you going to say?
No, I was with you there. The only thing that tipped me off was the point of why didn't Adam say, hey, look, when they called me down to the police precinct, that was a hox. The fact he kept that to himself was like, an innocent man wouldn't do that. The first thing I'm doing is, hey, babe, you remember what happened to me today? And so I thought that was going to be it, but we got one more swerve at the end.
Yep. Well, that's Adam. Deadbeat though. So
the worst. Adam is the worst. He continues to be. And then, what happened at the end. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what happened in the end. Let's get into the modern interpretation of this type of 90s murder mysteries. Basically, Flobo, let's start with you. What do you think about this type of film, but more present? And it was shot very 2019.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the more cinematic tales. I mean, the use of color and staging, cinematography is definitely a postmodern film. But at its core, man, I remember those Saturday afternoon movies, the low budget films are just going away on character and who do you trust and simple motivations. No one's trying to save the world. No one is trying to hug a tree. It's, hey, look, here's an opportunity for land, power, money, diamonds, and how everyone reacts to that. So, like, for example, we're sitting here watching the Don't Go in the Basement. But for us, it was don't count the money, man. Like, don't go to the bank. Don't trust that guy. And I thought it was so cool. We don't really see that as much in movies nowadays, because now with movies and they're losing market share, it's all about spectacle. The biggest explosions, the biggest characters. Now we're actually getting like decision making, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Bryant?
Well, I 100% agree. And I think that's exactly what Riverdale is. And I think that's kind of why I was gravitated to this. Also why Camilia Banus is perfect, because that's exactly how Riverdale is. Murder mystery, kind of like throwing back to those old times. It's obviously based on the Archie comics, but throwing back to those older 90s kind of thrillers, but having a modern and classic modern twist on it as well. So I did appreciate that. And I did like how it was shot, because I sometimes get lost with those kind of films when it is kind of shot in like that, like nuancey way. So I liked how it was very modern, because I feel like if it wasn't, I would have gotten a little bit lost and might have turned it off.
Yeah. I kind of think the opposite. I was having a hard time going with the flow because of how it was shot. And I was expecting a little more glitz, a little more, something bigger happening to watch, just because of how beautiful it looks. It really is a very beautiful looking film. But I think if it had that eerie, older, like B-movie type vibe, I would have been more into the stare down with the film and just paying attention the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Wait, are you talking about the B movie, like BEE movie?
No. Like, no.
That's a classic too. Next week, Anatomy of a Movie.
Okay. Like, isn't that about a girl who has sex with a bee? Like,
first of all, is that what it's about?
It's a love story, yeah. It's a love story, yeah.
Whoa, I've never seen the B movie. Now I'm gonna see the B movie, because I did not understand that was B movie is just like another word for a movie that is a B.
Yeah,
and not an A.
A genre film.
A genre, yeah, exactly. And so other older murder mysteries that would fall into that category, I think, because they're cheesier, and so it's easier to watch the cheese. This one I felt there was cheese, but it looked like it should have been so advanced.
Got it.
So I just felt a little bit differently.
I hate to be like that, the film school graduate here, but a lot of movies are suffering or having that issue now with the visuals being cheaper to attain. Now you have to look past that. Like, things can look as slick as butter, but then can still be, fundamentally, amateurish or not doesn't match. Or I think this had that to a little bit. Not to the point of me jumping off the bus, because ultimately it was a story that made me go, eh. But the visuals did not help, even though they were great to look at.
Right.
For sure.
Feel that completely. Amazing. Well, we learned something about B movies and the B movie. So let's keep it moving on that one. Okay, so the detective threw me off the entire movie, still throwing me off to this day. I think she's in my backyard doing something buck wild, because I think that exactly, it looks just like that outside my window. I still think that she had something to do with it. And I don't know, did you guys feel that way throughout, or was I the only one that felt that way? What'd you think, Bryant?
So I didn't feel that way from the whole thing. I did feel like she did have Kate's back, because she was really looking at Adam, and then she could tell that Adam really was the mastermind, or she thought. But what I felt was, in the end, that what she did do was help Kate get out of it. Like, I feel like, which she kind of alluded to, she was like, I kind of took care of that. So I feel like she kind of did something that helped Kate, like, not like get out with her hands clean, even though she did have kind of a part in all the craziness. So I didn't think that she was necessarily like behind the whole thing, or like, adding to it, but I did think that she might have played a part in helping Kate get away or get out unscathed.
Got it. What do you think, Flobo?
It's a weird one, because like the character, the detective, did nothing wrong. She did everything by the book, and therefore we should cheer for her. But the fact she had the beady eyes and was always doing things like, Fancy, you're here. It makes you go like, why are you acting so sketchy for, bro? Like, are you gonna help me out or not? So I guess that's part of her journey. Do we trust her or not? But there were some times in there I thought specifically she was in cahoots with Mickey before we knew how big that story ended up being. But like, there was no reason for her to trust her, even though she's like, I'm your only friend here.
Yeah. Right. And she kept saying really mean things to her. And I know that's how they try to portray detectives when they're questioning people, make sure to just kind of shade them, but try to pat them on the back too. And so when she was going back and forth like that, I was either, this is a little too much, you're doing a little too much, or are you the one that did it? And that's why you're trying to convince her that she did it. Because there was one point where I was like, is she just going to take the blame for this thing for some reason? And because this woman is badgering her. So I had no idea where that storyline was going to go, but I can leave it alone. Let's also talk about Cam's character, who was the real estate agent that just kept showing up in the yard and trespassing. And she just went up to him as if he was probably not dangerous. What did you guys think about her character doing that? You think that was believable? What do you think that is? Flobo, let's start with you.
You know what? To me, I guess I've seen too many Hallmark movies. But I just figured, oh, evil realtor. Okay. You know?
Got it.
But now that you mentioned, yeah, that was pretty dangerous. You didn't know if he was armed or dangerous, just hanging out in your yard being all creepy or whatever.
Exactly.
But I mean, classic story. Big house, someone wants to get it. Of course, the person that wants to take it away from you is a shady businessman. So already off the bat, I was like, I don't know, Mickey. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
What about you, Bryant?
I definitely, obviously this being a murder mystery, I knew that if he's such a big character, he had to have something to do with the kind of thing going on. I didn't think that he was a mastermind, though. I definitely did not see that coming, or kind of the bigger person in the picture. I thought that, using his real estate part of it, I thought he was kind of like doing some shady business to help that along, but I didn't think that he was the one actually going for it and doing it, So I definitely thought that she was like crazy to approach him. But I think that she kind of, of course, she doesn't have the same vision that we did. Like, obviously, we saw him stalking her several times, but she just thought it was this real estate agent that just hitting her over the head trying to buy her house. And she's like, no, get off my property. I'm not selling you my damn house.
I think that goes back to these style films, too, is they usually put the leading lady, they just throw her out there and just put her in the line of fire. And then we're always a little bit shocked that she just settles with it, where the rest of us, no matter what gender or who we are, we're like, no, thank you. I will just call the police. That's it. Goodbye. But they put them on the line because I thought something was going to happen to her way earlier because of him. Like, I thought she was going to take a garden brick or something and call it a day, and then she'd go missing.
Oh,
I know. I was going there. I was
going
going
to black roll credits.
I was making up my own movie in the movie. It was affecting me like that.
So can I ask you a question then? Is that a good thing? Is it a good thing that a movie sparks your own imagination, or is it a bad thing you're being taken out of your movie, coming up with better computations?
I think it depends. I think in this case, it was because the story was moving really slow for me.
Okay.
And so I was trying to create what would happen next sooner because I didn't trust the movie to do that for me.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's get into this final scene with Kate's character and the detective. So we see her watering flowers in the same lawn where killers approached her prior, and now she has a baby on the way. And we know that Adam is dead. What do you guys think about the setup of that scene, all of the things? So she kept the house, she stayed at the house all by herself in a house that so many people have now died in.
Oh, yeah.
And then the detective comes back to visit to tell her the case is closed. This could have been a phone call. And then we see the diamonds by a tree. Tell me about how you guys thought of all those things come together in a matter of 60 seconds. Bryant, you go first.
The diamonds was the one that got me. I was like very, very confused because what I was thinking that they were getting at was that Kate actually was the mastermind. Like, I thought they were going to go there and she was going to like walk back to the house and like pull the diamonds out and like play with it or something crazy like that. So, but apparently not, because she's just still, like you said, unbeknownst to all this craziness that happened. She knows it happened, but she's still totally fine with living in that house with all these dead bodies. So she just walked right past her diamonds, went back into her house, and happily ever after. So yeah, I think it was definitely interesting that they showed, for me, the biggest part of that was showing the diamonds, because I was like, what does that mean for anybody involved? Like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
What about you, Flobo?
I hated it for a lot of the reasons you said. It tried to wrap up things too neatly, especially in a movie that, if you really want to be critical, they repeat beats and relationships all the time, right?
Totally.
Like when Leonard goes, that tree was planted 88 years ago, my birthday. By the way, I'm 88, You have all this open interpretation at the end. It's kind of weird. Now, when Adam was on his deathbed, the last thing he said was garden. So I figured, okay, maybe she may find the diamonds in a sack somewhere, in a box somewhere, something along those lines. But it's not even implied she knows where it is. So how is she paying to heat the house? How much is the electric bill in that house? We don't know.
Totally.
Kind of a weird scene.
I think absolutely insane to choose to live somewhere where all of those awful things happen to you, and then the memory of your husband is like that, and then you're going to try to have a baby there. The only, I thought it was going to, what was that Angelina Jolie movie where she pretends that she's pregnant and she's like, do you guys know that one? Doesn't matter. She like pulls out a fake belly and kind of runs in it. I thought that was going to happen. I thought she was going to be not actually pregnant like you. She was going to go play with some diamonds. And then the detective was going to be just driving away as she like sipped on tea or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I want to know,
Evil
to answer your
tea.
question, Flobo, is maybe she continued with the will, right? That's what I'm assuming, that she didn't tell anybody that was a fake will, because that's how she's living. She's still living off of his fortune that he allegedly gave her.
Yeah. But why wouldn't she have sold the house?
There's so many windows and doors now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dangerous Lies 2.0. The Return of the Detective.
Pitch it. The Return of the Detective. Exactly. Okay, well, let's get into the ratings on this movie. So the Rotten Tomatoes review rating is 41%. And then the audience score is 28%. So only 17 people have reviewed this movie, which is dangerously low. So people are not viewing it. And then an audience score of 132 is also pretty low, especially for a movie that is claimed to be trending 1 and 2 on Netflix, basically since it came out. What do we think of those numbers just not really adding up? Bryant, what do you think?
Oh, it's interesting, because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to show it, because I knew it was going to be a big hit for Netflix, or at least I thought, especially with the cast that they already had for it. So, it's definitely interesting, like you said, about how it's not adding up with the Netflix top 10, because I always see that and I'm like, oh, dang, is that doing really good? Like, for example, like compared to something like Outer Banks, like I was not a fan of Outer Banks, and that trended for very, very long as number 1 on Netflix. So it's just, it's weird. We don't really know what their algorithm is or how they're determining that. Is it just because it's like today, they say like number 1 on the US today? So is it like the most views of that day, or is it the most longest watch time? I don't know, but it's definitely interesting that it doesn't add up. I personally loved it, and we're gonna get to our own ratings, but I personally loved it. I think that's so like wrong. So
okay, what about you, Flobo? What do you think about those ratios?
It kind of reminds me of Spotify in a bit. A lot of friends who are producers know that if you listen to a song, the first chorus of a song usually comes at the 30-second mark. That's when they go into the pre-chorus into the first chorus, because after 30 seconds, that's when Spotify counts it as a play. So they make sure they lead up to it. So I don't know if a trending play is pressing play, a 20-minute viewing of it, or in sittings, or hitting the rewind button going, what's this crap? We don't know. I do think it's easy for it to trend, because when a show is released on Netflix, it's the first thing on your page. So if it's just a play, I'm hitting buttons to,
everything,
my profile, okay, play, it could be a count too. So it's hard to tell. But I can say also, there's a lot of things that trend on Netflix, to Brian's point, where I go, really? What are people on? This show's weird.
There you go. But again, at least you're looking at it, and then you find out it's weird, and maybe that counts. So interesting. Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Sometimes I feel like the top 10 is somehow catered to me, and I don't know if that's just because that week it just happens to be things that I like, that I'm actually paying attention to the top 10. So who knows what the algorithms are? Who knows anything? But it's very interesting that we reviewed a Netflix movie last week, and we're going to be reviewing another Netflix movie later. And people just in general, I think, are not watching these movies as much as they at least should be. We're in quarantine, so the marketing that they're putting into everything is pretty low, which I understand. Everyone is kind of budgeting right now to keep afloat. So I get why they're not dropping dollars on that, but it's interesting because there's a lot of good content. Okay, so the IMDb score is 5.2. So that's another interesting one. Let's get into ours. Bryant, I'm going to save you for last. Flobo, your rating on the IMDb scale out of 10.
So on my scale, 0 is I'll never watch this ever again. 10 is an instant classic. I got to think 5.2 is pretty fair. I would give it a 5.5. That's definitely a movie I would watch with a couple of friends. with a couple of drinks going, oh, this girl is crazy. Man, he's stupid. But I wouldn't sit down there and be like, oh man, Dangerous Lies is on Netflix. Let me sit there and watch it intently. It isn't that kind of movie. So yeah, it's a popcorn kind of thing. So I gotta say 5.5.
All right. I will give it a 6. And the only reason why I give it a 6 is because it has a really good cast. Mm-hmm. I really like all of the lead actors in the cast. So if you just want to see the people that you like, you can totally get through that movie, which is basically what I did. Just wanted to see when these people would show up, and I like them. The story wasn't great, but it wasn't something to need to turn it off, I didn't think. So I'm going to give it a 6. Bryant, hit us with your score.
You're all wrong.
Basically.
I'm going to say probably like an 8. Just for the same reason of the cast. Like, that is the exact reason I wanted to watch this. Love Cami Mendes, love Cam Gigande. I hope I said that right too. But at the same token, like for a personal reason, it's because, I always throw this out there, I don't watch thriller or any kind of thing even remotely close to that, or horror. So what I liked about this was it was kind of in that vein, but it allowed me to still watch it. Like, it wasn't too crazy. Like, I still watched it at midnight. Like, I was totally fine. I wasn't like crying to my mother. So I think that was what I liked about it, was like, for someone like me who doesn't like thriller or murder mystery, that kind of thing, to be able to watch it still, plus the cast. So I would say it's an 8.
All right. I love when this happens. I love when we have different opinions, because it just goes to show, try things and see if you like them.
Yeah, well, the live chat of Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo.
J-Lo!
She gives it a 2 out of 10. A 10.
Wait. A 2 out of 10.
I'm saying, J-Lo, hey, she doesn't lie to me. She just sees the truth.
Honestly, we got a truth teller in J-Lo.
I'm calling Cami Mendes myself.
Let me just chime in here. We got people talking behind my back because I slipped and didn't look at the chat. Flobo said I'm on one, and you're right. I was on one.
It's true.
Well, I'm so glad that we all came together to talk about this movie, guys. Please tell our viewers where they can find you, Flobo.
Yeah, you can follow me at Twitter at Flobo Boyce, on Instagram at Flobito, and of course, Flobito.com.
Yes. And Bryant?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok as the Bryant Santos. Catch me on AfterBuzz TV's Quarantine with the Stars, and watch the B movie.
And watch the B-E-E movie.
That's pretty solid.
Oh my gosh. And y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hey Trina Dong, and I'm new to the TikTok game at Trina Dong. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Anatomy of a Movie. We will see you next time. Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network,